I almost left the best job I ever had to join a startup, and thank God I didn't because they ended up closing their doors within 12 months of them making the offer to me. Then, about 6 months later, I ended up getting a 24% pay increase out of the blue. And if you're even thinking about leaving your job, I really want you to hear this. Throughout my personal development journey, I learned something that completely changed the way that I saw my situation. My name is Debbie Movsesian, and I've been a medical provider for many years. And throughout my career, I have had many jobs. I went from one to another, always searching for a better job. And I actually landed on one that I considered the perfect job. It was great hours. I worked with great doctors. It was pretty good pay and not far from my house. It was pretty much perfect on paper. But there was something missing. And so I ended up starting a business, and that became an obsession. And I really felt like I should be able to create this business and leave my job. Over the years, I became very resentful of my job, the job that was providing most of my income and keeping us pretty stable and secure. I had a lot of negative emotions around this job. I would dread going in every morning. I would literally sit in my car and cry out of frustration because I just hated it. Everything about it triggered me. It was annoying. I didn't want to see the patients. I was hoping there would be no shows. I looked forward to every single day off that I had. I was always trying to find a way to not be working. And when I was working, I was irritated and frustrated, and that made me very angry and resentful. But fortunately, because I was creating a business, I found myself in a lot of personal development work, and I really loved it. And I started going deeper and deeper. And one of the most transformational things that I learned was that we literally can create our own reality. I learned that I had a habit of hating my job. I literally would think something negative about my job. I would say, I hate my job. Then I would feel frustration and resentment and just negative emotions overtake me. So then everything that happened made me feel even more annoyed and frustrated and resentful. And it was a vicious cycle. But when I took a step back and I actually asked myself, okay, what is it that I hate about this? I could get very clear that it all came down to the fact that I felt resentful that I still needed this job, that I had to do this job because my business wasn't working. And everything changed when I realized it was this repetitive thought that I was telling myself over and over and over again. Like all these things we say to ourselves, those are just thoughts. We literally can pick a different thought. And so, because I kept choosing a thought, I hate my job, I kept feeling the hatred. I kept feeling all the negative emotions that go with thinking you hate something. So, the thing is, if you don't address the underlying cause of why you have these negative emotions about your job, you will take them with you to the next job, which is actually what I did over time. I always thought that I was finding a better job, but I always ended up feeling the same way. And the reason why this happens is because it isn't actually the job that is causing us to feel the way that we feel. What's happening is that we live within something called our paradigm. If you're very success focused, I call this your achievement paradigm. And because of living within this paradigm, the way that we see everything is through this filter of our paradigm. It's like wearing rose-colored glasses, right? And everything you see has a tint of red to it or pink. And so everything that we do in our lives is all based around the belief system that makes up this paradigm. So if we believe that we can't have a job that we love, make a huge impact, make good money, if we believe that that's not possible, it won't be possible for us. If we believe that we have to constantly be perfect in order to get approval or to be acknowledged for doing a good job, then we're living within this paradigm of believing we have to be perfect. And one of my beliefs is that I couldn't be happy unless I was creating an outcome or the results that I thought I should be creating. And so what happens is we put ourselves in situations that are making us miserable, basically, because we can't see outside of this paradigm that we live in. The point is that the feelings you have about your job aren't actually your job itself. Yes, it plays a part, but what actually is making you feel the way that you feel, the frustration, the irritation, the anger, is related to something much deeper in the way that you see things and the what you believe is possible and what you think you have to do to have what you want. All of that is tied up into this paradigm. And the thing is, you've created your paradigm basically before you were 7 or 8 years old, before you even had a logical brain and you could make decisions about what you actually want in your life. We just inherited a paradigm. So the way that we see life is based on this paradigm that we live in. And this paradigm that we live in is based on a belief system that was created when we were kids. And now every work experience is being filtered through the lens of this paradigm. So when I started to let go of the pressure of needing to create this business so that I could leave my job, and I allowed myself to acknowledge the fact that me telling myself that I hate my job literally was a habit I had created. When I took a step back and I stopped telling myself I hate my job, things started to shift. And I mean dramatically. I'm not saying I started loving my job overnight. That's not true. But when you don't hate something and you don't constantly tell yourself that you hate it, everything changes. Everything becomes a little bit less stressful and less annoying and less frustrating. And I was able to actually see some of the good things about my job. I was able to develop relationships with people at work that I never would have when I was full of so much anger and frustration. And I started to feel actually really proud of the good work I was doing. Like what I do actually is important, even if it's not my top choice of how I want to spend the rest of my life. Even though I still do want to have my business, it's okay to take the pressure off and enjoy my job for what it is and what it gives me and provides to my family while working on something else that I'm more passionate about. And the thing is, if you don't address how you feel about your job, where you're at now, the situation that you're in that you don't love, that you think you hate, if you don't address that and what's underneath it and why you feel the way you feel, you will take that with you. You will take your paradigm with you. So, what would change for you if you took a step back and you just stopped telling yourself a story that makes you feel like shit, basically? If you're ready to take this to the next level right now, I have something very special to offer you. It's called a 15-minute paradigm diagnostic assessment. And what this is, it's not a sales call, it's a 15-minute deep dive into showing you exactly what your paradigm is, what your paradigm is made of, what the belief system is, where it came from. And I will give you some real simple steps that you can start taking within the next 24 to 48 hours of the call. And you can actually start feeling differently by taking these actions. Just click on the link, set up a call, and it'll change your life. Now, a lot of this might trigger you, and you might be actually feeling a lot of the negative emotions that your job triggers, like frustration or anger. And if that is the case, I want you to subscribe and tune into my next video, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a process that's going to allow you to release this negative energy. Because if you're really stuck right now in negative emotions like frustration and irritation and anger, then it is very difficult to choose something more positive, right? Of course, we can't just suppress these emotions, pretend they're not there. So if you're feeling a negative emotion very strongly right now, then I want you to stay tuned for next week, because I'm going to take you through a very powerful process that allows you to acknowledge all of the feelings that you may have been trying not to feel, and it lets it up and out so that you can feel grounded, you can feel neutral, and then you can decide, okay, I actually want to stop telling myself X, Y, or Z. That's exactly what I did. That's what I help my clients do, and that's what I'm going to help you do in the next video. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next video. See you soon. Bye.